Good morning, everyone. Uh, I wonder how it's nice to hear this talk from Dr. Ross. It was so nice talk. And first, I'd like to thank Cultiva for doing this, holding this meeting with you. And can you imagine we're talking about like very very tiny layer in the plants, not the roots, the shoots. It's very tiny layer. See how the growers and BCAs are progressing, are thinking about this tiny layer, how we can manage this tiny layer to produce better crops. And I appreciate that, and I appreciate all the people. They are looking for knowledge and information to understand the plants, and they can treat it well, and can have more production, produce more resilient crops, especially now with all this climate change and warming and freezing events, flooding, all of these things. And I believe that cuticle it's one of those main component in the plants, and we need to look at this very carefully and see how we can manage it, how we can protect it actually. And we see more problems in agriculture. I'm more working in extension and close to the growers, and I see a lot of problems because we don't ignore it, but we don't think about it. This cuticle level. So my name is Ashraf El-Kereamy. I'm assistant professor of extension at UC Riverside, but I'm not located at UC Riverside. I'm located outside in the Lindcove Research and Extension Center, and also I'm the director of the center. The university wanted me to be in this place because it's the middle of the citrus industry. So we're doing citrus, we're doing some table grapes. It's still my background mostly hormones and stress tolerance. And we're trying to help the growers to solve any problem they have. So as you can see here, I like this slide because always I have this background, like the back image, which is more scientific, but in the front, it's always like applied or something we produce it. And it's always really nice to understand what is going on, like Dr. Ross mentioned, so we can modify it. Like you guys here, you can take this information, process it, and see how you can use this in the field. And that is how science, that's how I like agriculture. You understand, and then you can do better in the field. So today I'm gonna just share with you some of the thoughts I have and some of the data already we have about how this cuticle can affect the tolerance to any abiotic stress. So basically, I'll give you some introduction about the structure, the function, and all of these things, and then how we can improve this cuticle layer. And then we can go to the practice and the actual trials that we did it with Cultiva and see how we can use it. So, like Dr. Ross mentioned, the cuticle layer is a superficial layer that covered the vegetative growth and the fruits as well. But it has a function in the plants. It can protect the plants, and also it can transmit some signal inside the plants. It's like, can you imagine when you touch the hot plate with your hand? You have two reactions. You get away from the hot plate, and you feel some pain, right? That's how the cuticle is working. It's transmitting some signal also inside the plants and protect the plants. Imagine if you have a gloves and you touch the same hot plate, then your reaction will not be the same. So some delay because you have the layer that protect your hand. So at the applied level in the industry, that is the cuticle, the shiny, waxy layer. We see it on the fruits. That is the cuticle. You can see it by your eyes. And if you remove this, that would be a horrible like Dr. Ross showed us, like it can be a disaster when you don't have this layer. So, as Dr. Ross mentioned, has a function controlling losing the water, and we have seen this in so many crops. We have so many varieties of table grapes in California, and some of the varieties, they don't make it even to the customers because they stop it from the beginning because of the cuticle. And you can see it in the macro cracking. Exactly. When they start to grow, you see those macro cracking by microscope, and they stop the variety from there. Some of the varieties, they went out of the market because of that macro cracking or the cuticle. We're talking also about increasing the disease incidence because of the macrocratting, because the spores can go inside and start to grow and spread the disease. As I said, it's acting as the first line on the plants to protect themselves from the environmental stress, abiotic stress. I'm not biotic stress researcher, but I think also it can protect them from the biotic stress as well. So we need to be very careful about this layer and try to understand it. So what happens if you remove this? Like Dr. Ross showed this variety that has more cuticle, and the other varieties that don't have cuticle or they have less cuticle, you start losing the water rapidly, and it can be susceptible to any biotic stresses as well. It can affect the exchange of the gases in this layer, because also in this cuticle layer also you have the stomata, which is controlling the photosynthesis and the CO2 uptake from the air. So you can affect all this function of the plants. So that is one experiment. I did it in my center. We have some issue right now with some lemons varieties, and I was trying to understand why it's happening. And early, just right after fruit set, when the fruits are very small, you can see some dots like darker spots on the fruits like this. And actually, that's at harvest, you can see that damage. And I was able to reduce that symptoms by removing the cuticle chemically, like using the acetone or chloroform. You can remove the cuticle very early stages like this, just right after fruit set, and that will be translated to some kind of damage, like scarring on the rind of the fruits. And definitely, when this damage got very severe, the fruits doesn't go to the fresh market, it goes to the juice company. And the price between the fresh fruits and juice company, probably it's 5 times more when you send the fruits to fresh market. And it does cause a lot of issues in the lemon industry. So definitely, if you remove it, you have fruits that's not marketable or low quality for the market. And we noticed that it can be repaired. Like not all the fruits you damage, when you damage the fruits early stages, not all of them they form that disorder at harvest. Some of them they just recover. Recover why? We are trying to understand this issue, how we can, like the question we had it early, how we can control it, this repair. Can we improve this repair? We don't know. So when you look at the cuticle layer, as Dr. Ross mentioned, it's a complex architecture, and it has lots of things. And all of these components, the cutin, the waxes, has function in the plants. And their function is to protect the plants from any environmental stress. Okay, that is one thing. Again, it's not only a solid layer that wax has no function. No, it has some signal go from the from the environment surrounding the plants. It goes inside the cuticle through those cell wall and affect the plants by itself. So if you make this cuticle more durable or more solid, you can somehow affect the tolerance of the plants to some environmental stress. And we don't know if that can be specific for one stress condition, but in my opinion, it's more than one stress condition. And the Parka, I think it's one of the products that can help in this, but it was using for sunburn. And I will show you later how we use it for other stress, and we have a good result with this. So there is some other physiological factors. When you look at the literature, can affect this cuticle layer inside the plants because it's formed by the plants, and there is so many factors can affect the formation of this layer. How permeable is it? Is it solid enough to protect the plants, or it's not solid enough? The composition itself. So there's like genetic factors. Some varieties they have less than the other varieties. And did you see in the first talk, the wild types always has more because they were used to grow in a harsh condition. So the plants itself try to protect themselves and form a more cuticle. Some hormones, I'm a fan of the hormones, and I think some of the hormones can get involved in there and can affect how permeable the cuticle is. The formation itself, I'm not sure if any hormone can affect the formation of the cuticle itself. But from the literature, you can tell some hormones are more, they can affect how permeable is the cuticle. The temperature, humidity, the air pollution, all of these harsh conditions can affect how permeable the cuticle is. And for sure, if they affect the cuticle, they will affect the tolerance to any abiotic stresses. We are trying to look at the developmental stages of the fruits, like the questions. And this morning, like when exactly it's formed, how fast it's formed compared to the growth of the fruits. I'm focused now on lemons, and I'm trying to understand exactly how it's working, like how speed the formation of the cuticle and how speed the growth of the fruits, and why sometimes they are not really going in the same rate. So that is something we are trying to understand right now. That is one paper was published on the effect of the abscisic acid. That's in Arabidopsis. It's not in fruit trees or vegetables. Arabidopsis, it's a model plant, and it's easy to generate mutation, and you can study the physiological role of anything. So here they are looking at how permeable is the cuticle. In the first column is the Columbia, which is COL, that's the wild type, and then the mutation in abscisic acid. When you have a mutation in abscisic acid biosynthesis, you may impair the signal or the biosynthesis of the abscisic acid. So when you have this mutation, you can see the dots. The more color you get in the top image, the more permeable is the cuticle by staining. And impairing the abscisic acid signaling and biosynthesis pathway can affect how permeable is the cuticle. How this can be translated to our applied in our industry, agricultural industry. First, we use some hormones. If you look at the hormones by itself as a component in the plants, they are produced by a very small amount in different area in the plants, but they are working together, the antagonist together. Like abscisic acid and the GA usually they antagonize each other. And then you have the ethylene, you have the jasmonic acid, the salicylic acid, all of these hormones. If you look at the hormonal pathway in the plants, it's very complicated. It's like huge. And it can affect each other. So maybe simple method, when we do the hedging or the topping and the citrus, that's cut. And the ethylene, it's induced by cut. So when you cut the trees, you induce ethylene inside the plants. How this cut can affect all these other hormones, how this cut can affect how the flowering and the leaves, the root growth, all of this. There's simply one operation we do it in a field, it can change this balance. And any imbalance in these hormones can result in catastrophic or mild symptoms in the plants. So it's always better to look at the whole image. It's a bigger image. Like, look at the bigger image. It's not only are affecting one component. No. This abscisic acid study is just an example. But when you impair the abscisic acid, you do other stuff. You may increase the GA, gibberellic acid. Gibberellic acid can have some effect in something else. So it's very complicated, but that is showing how this cuticle, it can be affected by any operation we are doing, because you change the hormones. So how we can improve this and enhance the cuticle? I think we heard a lot from Dr. Ross, and genetic engineering, Swan breeding program. I'm trying to work on the nutrition and see if there is any specific nutrition element that can help us producing a better cuticle. Because the lemon issue I showed, that is it's a big one, and we're trying to understand why it's happening in one variety, not in the other. Why it's happening under some condition, not in all the conditions. That is going to take a while, like figuring out how the nutrition can affect this cuticle, especially this tiny layer, and it's not easy to study. But you can see the effect when it is damaged or more permeable. The other thing you are trying to do right now, testing the cuticle enhancers or like whatever can enhance the formation of cuticle, or apply some other materials from outside, like Parka, for example. There is more than one product in the market right now, and as extension specialist, I have to try those products and see if they work, and they have any effect on the stress or not, in the fruit quality. So we're doing a lot of study with this, and by the end of the day, you will provide the growers with information about which one works and which one at which rate and under this condition. Because something else I want to share with you, when you have a permeable like cuticle or low profile cuticle, you may enhance that signal that's produced by the stress. And when the signal, it's actually producing what we call it reactive oxygen species. Say, for example, you expose the plants to heat stress and plant die. Why they are dying? Because they produced ROS, or reactive oxygen species. And that product, or that ROS, it's kind of killing the cells of the plants. So if you make your cuticle more like thick, or you reduce this signal, you may reduce the ROS, and the plants become more tolerant to stress condition. So that is my explanation. We're doing trials with table grapes in red and green varieties, using those products like Parka and other products. And you see enhance in the red color, which is, I was talking to some people yesterday, they have seen the same thing in apples. The intention was not to increase the color in table grapes, but it was to improve the tolerance to heat, the heat tolerance in the table grapes. But again, as I said, maybe when you spray these products, you reduce the effect on the plants, the stress on the plants, reducing the ROS. And ROS usually they kill the cells, they kill the anthocyanin or the red pigment. So it's indirectly you increase the quality of the fruits by reducing the stress component on the trees or on the vine. So that is a good thing. I mean, sometimes we find things like not intentionally meant to be done, like anthocyanin and the red color, but we have good results with this. In the field crops, it's easy to do the transgenic and the breeding, and you can do that. And it was done actually. Some people they manipulate the cuticle to produce plants more tolerant to drought, the heat, and cold, stress, and all of these things. But in our case, I'm working on fruit trees, in like citrus, grapes, apples, almond. It's not easy to do this genetic manipulation. There is some research, but I don't know. It's going to take a while until we see any even edited crops. So you need something to do it in the field right now with your existing variety or your existing trees. Because most of those trees, they stay like 20, 25 years in the orchard, and you don't want to remove them after 5, 10 years. You know, it's not good for the grower. So you need this solution for the existing trees. Okay, so application of some materials from outside, understanding the physiology, how the nutrition works, like environmental condition, hormones, that will help us design treatment for the existing orchards. So we started this trial with Cultiva. Was actually just was right after the pandemic or in the middle of the pandemic. And when I had a meeting with Cultiva, they proposed this, like the product, the Parka, and explained to me how it works, show me some of the results. And I was thinking about the citrus. There is a fear all the time that any freezing event that can come to citrus can destroy the crop or destroy the trees. And in California, especially lemons, they are very sensitive to cold tolerant, to cold in general. But you know, the pricing in the market is good, and most of the people, they start planting lemons. I think we have one freezing event in 1986, and that killed a lot of lemon trees in California. But it's always, there is a fear that, you know, if you have any cold event, it would kill all the trees. And I was trying to see if we can use Parka. Can we improve the cold tolerance in those trees? For sure, you cannot spray it on the field and wait until the cold events come, because temperature, it's unpredictable. Like these days, with the change in the climate, we don't know. Sometimes you would expect low temperature, doesn't happen. So we had to go for artificial treatment for the cold. And we did the first experiment to see if what temperature can reduce the growth and affect the young trees. So we found that 24 Fahrenheit is the good temperature to affect the growth of the trees. So we had like 5-gallon bucket with the trees, and we would put it inside and outside the cold room every day for 1 week at 24 Fahrenheit. But before doing this, we treated the trees with either 1 time Parka or 2 times Parka, 15 days apart. And then let them grow in the greenhouse for another 6 months and see how it looks like. And actually, it happened that Brian, he was there, and we got them out of the greenhouse, and wow, I was surprised about the result. So we tried the lemons and we tried also the tango mandarins, and like there is some of the data we got. Like the first one is a control. That's 3 without any cold treatments, and then the following one control plus the Parka one time, and then Parka twice, 15 days apart. And then the cold, and if you look at the cold compared to the control, the cold treatments for 1 week at 24 Fahrenheit reduce the growth of the tree. Okay, that is in the tango mandarin. Again, when you have the cold plus the Parka once or twice, you can see there's some recovery here from using the Parka, either 1 time or 2 times, 15 days apart. And that result, I didn't see this result like in a greenhouse, inside the greenhouse, because everything was crowded and it's not easy to see. You say, okay, everything is the same. But we took them outside and put them together, and you can see the difference. I was shocked when I see this, because actually that's a good result, and it was the first time to show that Parka has some effect on the cold tolerance in the plants, and especially mandarin or citrus in general. So we cut the plants and we measured everything, the plant height, and it corresponds actually to what we see visually. Like that's a plant height in centimeters. There's plant fresh weight. Again, look at the control and the cold. You see this inhibition in the growth. When you treat the plant with cold, but when you treat the plant with cold plus the Parka, that is, you go back to the normal, almost the normal fresh weight. I was curious to see, is that affecting only the shoots or the shoots and the roots? And actually cold affect also the roots. You can see here in the second plot here, the root fresh weight. When you expose a plant to the cold, you see a reduction in the cold. In Parka, again, it's recovering this. Like the pre-treatment with Parka, I was able to increase the cold tolerance and keep the fresh weight without any effect. The trunk diameter, we don't see. You see some reduction with the cold, but it's not significant, because probably those are 6 months. 6 months is not enough to produce the trunk diameter or to increase a significant amount of trunk diameter. So that's what I didn't see. The second experiment was the same thing with Limonera. 8A lemon, and again, as I said, the lemon is more sensitive to some than the others. You can see from the first one, the control, to the cold, you can see the reduction also in the growth. And then when you add Parka, the one time didn't affect actually the growth too much compared to the cold only. When you treat it twice, that is where you can see the effect. What we can take from this slide, like if you compare this one to the mandarin is more tolerant to cold than the lemons. So one time works in the mandarin, but in the sensitive varieties like the lemons, you need to treat it more than one time. And only that is one variety of lemon. We don't know how about the other varieties. We don't know about the other varieties of mandarins, the navel orange. We have so many varieties in the citrus. And when you do it in the field, when you try it in the field, try to spray it more than one time, and see if you need more than one time or not. So that's we give this information to the growers, and the growers, they have to experiment with their own condition, with their own variety, the soil, the microclimate, all of these things, and the timing when exactly they have to treat. So here we treated like 30 days and 15 days before the exposure to the cold event. So when it comes to real life, probably they need to spray in the fall before the winter. How often do you have to spray? How many spray? That is, they have to find this by themselves. I mean, if they have any question, they would contact us and try to help them and design something with them. So that's again the same thing like the mandarins, but you can see the cold plus one Parka application have no effect, but you have to treat it twice to be able to get some cold tolerance in lemon because it's more sensitive. That's again the plant fresh weight and the shoot and the roots. Yeah, the effect here, I mean, the standard error, it's high a little bit. I think probably because the lemon also, it's not like the mandarins. So there's some variation for sure between the two varieties. Trunk diameter, almost the same. So that is a conclusion. As I mentioned, is like the cuticle is a barrier surrounding the plants or the tree. You need to take care of this barrier, and you need to protect it. I heard lots of question about surfactant, adjuvant, oil. Also, the rate where you are using these chemicals has to be determined based on your condition, how dense is the canopy, how is the microclimate, is it a harsh condition like high temperature in the southern area of California, or it's in the northern area where it's cooled down. Some growers, they like to just avoid spraying in the middle of the day when the temperature is too high. So they can spray at night even in some cases. So all of these conditions play a role in deciding exactly what you're gonna do in your crop. But when you put in your mind how this is working, how's the cuticle and how it does interact with all of these things, I think you'll be successful to do it. Yeah. Like I said, different varieties, they have different requirement when you try to enhance this cuticle using Parka or any other product. You have to keep in mind this. Some, they already have a thick layer of cuticle, so you don't need too much, or that maybe, and like the timing of application, the rate of the application, or the number of application is different. So you need to keep in mind how this affect your work. If you do trials and try to figure out something new, put in mind all these conditions, how these hormones in all this physiology works together to make this cuticle function in a right way. I think there is a lot of unknowns in the cuticle, especially in the fruit trees, because it's hard to manipulate it, it's hard to generate a mutant. It's hard even to measure it, like Dr. Ross mentioned, like they were using like so many fruits to be able to collect small amount of cuticle. So we're trying to help the grower optimize this cuticle right now. I have one project focused on the lemons and also another one in mandarins. Mandarins, if you don't have this layer, in some early varieties like Satsuma, for example, that's early mandarin variety. Once you have a rain on the orchard, few days, all the fruits will turn brown because the water is standing on the top of the fruits. It goes inside and start to generate some kind of stress, abiotic stress, and that's an issue with early varieties of mandarin like Satsuma. Growers are trying to use some chemicals to prevent the water from standing or improve the cuticle. We did some work on this, and again, the cell wall components also, it's affecting the ability of those fruits to survive this condition. But the easy way people they do, the grower they can do it, just remove the variety from the market. But in some varieties like Satsuma Mandarin, it's early variety, and you can get a good amount of money if you can protect your fruits. We are trying other like culture practice, probably knitting the trees or putting them under or grow them under screen house to protect the fruits. That's also it can be option for the growers, but it's very expensive option to grow the whole tree inside the screen house. So I believe in Cuticle, and I believe that it will have lots and lots of potential in the future, especially now with what we see in the from global warming, extreme weather events. That we don't control it, the hail damage, all of these things. So I'm glad that we are talking today about this, and try to understand exactly how we can improve it, either with external application or some culture practice that we can do it, and we can help in this. So I think I'll stop here, and think if we have any questions. Thank you. Yeah.
Started. So the first question is the stress response from the plant different if it's from heat stress or cold stress?
Okay, that is I think they start with one. I think they share some steps, but not 100%. Okay, there's some similarity in the response in the signal, and then we goes to somehow to they probably down to the genes, and some genes are heat and cold responsive also as well, and but exactly where it's happening, but there is interaction between both. And I was thinking about this when we started the cold tolerance in mandarins using the Parka because of the cuticle. It's the same. Cuticle prevent the stress signal, either heat or cold. That's how, that is the first line. When it goes down, they can share some signal components, and by the end, some genes, but still, you will see different pathways in both the heat and the cold. Yeah.
Another question is the success of cuticle repair during the growing season correlated to the surface area of the damaged chemical?
I think I believe this, yes. But the ability of the fruits to repair itself, that's I'm trying to understand it. Why one fruit can repair themselves, other one no. I think it can be related to how fast the fruits are growing. And still, that's one hypothesis. I'm trying to prove it. Is it when the fruits grow underneath of the cuticle, grow faster than the cuticle formation, that can generate some kind of disorder in the fruits? I'm not sure. That's what I'm trying to prove. Because the lemon issue, I showed that's a big issue. I'm working on it. I'm trying to find a way, but definitely yes, it is correlated. The repair is correlated with how big the damage is happening. Yes.
And have you seen a compounded effect on the trees that are undergoing drought?
The effect of Parka or effect of a.
That was the question. So
can
whoever asked that question.
can you repeat it? Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll repeat it. Have you seen a compounded effect on the trees that are undergoing drought?
We have a trial with Parka on the drought. It's not drought. It's reducing the water use. Because drought, I don't want to go to drought stress. Water problem in California, it's a big issue right now. We're trying to save the water, so we reduce the water use. So we have trial with Parka where we are getting with 70% in water compared to the 100%, and we see some effect, yes, on those trees using the Parka. So we're still in the first year. We're repeating this for another year, and we'll see. We're harvesting right now the trials, and we'll see what happens. Because with so many fruits in the trees, you cannot tell by your eyes until. I don't like to make a conclusion unless I see numbers. So we're still in the process of evaluating this. Yeah.
And then the last question was posed to Dr. Rose, but you might be able to answer this as well. At what point during a crop production, for instance, nectarine, is the russeting process occurring?
I think that Dr.
So I think russeting will happen at the point where you have a mismatch between the force of the cell expansion going out, makes the maximum growth rate, and then the ability to make enough material to keep it intact. So when you start supercharged cell expansion, then that's what happens. We see this in tomato, right? If you put in water, and then the cell expands, gets very turgid, and then puts so water levels doing this.
Mm-hmm. I think most of the disorder we see in the fruits is correlated to this, like how fast, like Dr. Ross said, just when you irrigate too much, so you induce cell expansion, so the fruits expand rapidly, but the cuticle is limited. It's where you see the cracks, that's where you see the cracks. Nitrogen, if you pump too much nitrogen, that can generate the same issue. So I think there's so many factors like this we're doing without knowing. Herbicide application, weeding, all of these things. Think about it. It changed something in the plants. It's not just the plants sitting there. It's not having no feeling. No, they have feeling. They feel everything. Yeah. Yeah.
Another question came in. Is there a nutrient, you mentioned that you were looking at nutrition development. Do you have any ideas or hypotheses on which nutrients might be more responsible for pupil formation?
No, I'm exploring all of them right now. That's a big issue. We're working with Alex. Other growers. Yeah, that is. We don't know. Yeah, no. Yeah. Yeah. I didn't see a specific one to the grapes, but I believe, especially when you have like a rain event during pollution or after pollution, that's will dissolve the polluted, like dissolve the material that's in the polluted air and deposit it on the cuticle, and that's similar to any adjuvant or any oil you are spraying. It can affect this. I think the deposition of also the particle, because probably in the smoke you can see it was the dust was the ash was everywhere. How this ash affect the cuticle itself? In my personal opinion, I think it will have a huge effect, but don't have in mind now one publication. But probably there is some, yeah. But the cuticle itself, yeah, that's what I mentioned in the beginning. How being here, talking about this very tiny component, that's amazing. And I think not so many people working on this in this area, like how all of this is affecting the cuticle. Yeah, but definitely it will have effect. Yeah, yeah. Any more questions? Okay. Thank you so much. Yeah.